Speaking of a never-ending list of content, there are about a bajillion different Cinderella stories around the world. Nearly every culture, as best I can tell, has some version of this tale, and there have been Cinderella movies since movies were invented. Okay, almost. So, movies were officially invented in 1895, and the oldest Cinderella film I can find is from 1911, but my point stands. The oldest Cinderella story is at least 2,000 years old and is focused on a Greek slave girl who marries a king of Egypt. Other noteworthy Cinderellas include Basile's 1634 version, which is the earliest printed European retelling, Perrault's French version, named Cinderella, published a few years later in 1697. I wrote out a script and I cannot read it, and I'm giving up on doing 6,000 takes, so if I can't get it by the third, this is just what you're getting. And of course, the Brothers Grimm added their twist in a collection of stories published in 1812. Now, Disney's Cinderella was released in 1950, so halfway through the 20th century, big deal. And it was the first full-length release from the studio since Bambi in 1942. The release was huge, and the film was instantly loved, much to the joy and relief of Disney and his low-on-funds crew. The attention was also used to raise money for the New York Heart Association, which I think is just a nice little bit of trivia. Some found the film to be too modern and sentimental, which is just amusing looking back at it 75 years later, and almost exactly, actually, as the film was released on February 15 of 1950, and trying to imagine it being controversial with the, quote, sophisticated cosmopolitan art style, character development, and music choices. The Western flavor of the Cinderella story is pretty standard. A young girl loses her mother, dad remarries, dad dies, and the stepmom is a jealous, terrible person who makes the girl do all the dirty work. This usually involves a mocking nickname like Cinders in the Fire being combined with the classic name Ella to become Cinderella, and lots of serve others first to be a good person attitude. Eventually, Cinderella is invited to go to a ball, but can't because she's gross. Sometimes the stepmother teases or makes false promises. Usually magic is involved. Eventually, she gets to the ball, meets the prince, they fall in love, and then get separated, and the prince has to find her. Through some tokens, such as a glass slipper, they meet again and get married, and it's all very lovely. I would love to spend more time on the various retellings of Cinderella because I have several favorites, but I think that might be better suited to a different video.